The film opens by showing a woman is Kris Hendricks. Kris decided to leave the army, took her daughter to Australia, and settled on a remote farm, hiding her identity to live a peaceful, rural life. However, that peaceful life did not last very long. A stranger claiming to be a real estate manager unexpectedly showed up without warning. He claimed he wanted to buy Kris's farm. This place was remote and desolate. Normally, few people would actively seek it out, and it was unsuitable for real estate development. Kris immediately realized that this man certainly had no good intentions. So, after returning inside, she quickly set up her sniper rifle and coldly forced him to reveal his true identity. "You have 10 seconds to tell me exactly who you are. 5 seconds. 1 more second, and the bullet will pierce your body. So, who exactly are you?" Indeed, this man was not an ordinary real estate manager. He instantly drew his own slings, then drove back to the scene. She poured a full can of gasoline over the man's car, then lit it to burn all traces. After finishing everything, Kris finally breathed a sigh of relief. Immediately after, she called her daughter's homeroom teacher, saying there was a family emergency and she would pick Anja up early today. But the homeroom teacher told her Anja hadn't been to school for 2 weeks. She quickly hung up the phone, then contacted her old teammate Blake. She got straight to the point, saying Mark was still alive. Hearing this, Blake couldn't believe it. As far as he knew, this man had died 16 years ago. How could he suddenly reappear? Perhaps someone was impersonating his identity. After setting up all the mechanisms and traps, Kris began calling her daughter. But still, no one picked up the phone. Kris was so worried, she couldn't sit still. She could only drive around searching everywhere. However, she didn't know that at this moment, Anja was happily on a date with her boyfriend Mike, completely missing the phone's ring. It wasn't until noon the next day that Anja stepped out of her tent. Suddenly, a rifle barrel was pointing directly at her position. But, just as the shooter was about to pull the trigger, Anja suddenly jumped onto a motorcycle, twisting the throttle to speed away. Meanwhile, on the other side, Kris was fully armed, aiming her sniper rifle at the helicopter outside the window. But, after clearly seeing the person in the cockpit, she immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Soon after, the helicopter safely landed on the empty lot in front of the farm. 5 former soldiers, fully armed with guns and ammunition, stepped out of the aircraft. They signaled to each other, then cautiously approached the only house on the farm. Unexpectedly, Kris not only didn't hide, but actively stepped out to greet them. It turned out the leading man was Blake, her old teammate. But after clearly seeing the other faces, Kris immediately showed her dissatisfaction. It turned out that besides Blake, everyone else had been hastily recruited on very short notice. "Who do you think I am?" The Australian Secret Intelligence old teammates, specifically the 9 snipers from years ago. However, Blake told her that she needed to accept the truth. But when he heard their target was Mark, Nico immediately flew into a rage, waving his hand to withdraw from this mission. "You never said this mission had anything to do with the witch's children. I won't confront Mark because of a debt of gratitude. Doing that would be nothing short of a death wish." No matter how much Blake tried to explain, Nico still insisted on leaving. The newly assembled team had already faced a setback. Before even meeting Mark, they had lost a skilled shooter. But Kris didn't care at all, because the most urgent task now, unknown reason, he kept hesitating and wouldn't fire. Kris immediately rushed out, chasing after her daughter. The two quickly reached the campsite. However, what they found was Mike's dead body. Now, ow! Down! Down! Anja immediately collapsed in agonizing grief. Crying, she pleaded with her mother to bury her boyfriend. But Kris understood clearly that digging a grave in an open area now would only reveal their location. So she could only gently comfort Anja, explaining that it was getting dark. They would temporarily hide there tonight. They would wait for the danger to pass, then return to arrange Mike's burial. Not long after, darkness completely fell. Mike and Zorro still held their guns, guarding inside the house. But at this very moment, a bullet unexpectedly whizzed by, shattering the outdoor spotlight. Zorro immediately reacted, turning off all the lights in the house. Then, he retrieved his father's laptop from his body and prepared to call for helicopter support. Unexpectedly, when told Mark was killing people, The person on the other end told Zorro to call the police. Should we call the police? Zorro was clearly in a state of complete mental confusion. So, Mike told him to put down his weapon, then hide in a corner, and absolutely not show his head. Meanwhile, at the campsite, Anja also repeatedly asked her mother, who she had ultimately offended. Faced with her daughter's rapid-fire questions, Kris finally recounted her past. Did you kill a lot of people, Mom? How many people? That is the officially confirmed number. First of all, you must survive. After that, you must learn to live with yourself. Kris felt immense remorse and self-blame, but she had too many unspoken hardship. She still couldn't explain things to Anja now. She could only get back inside the house. Anja immediately jumped on the motorcycle, beating towards the farm at full throttle. Kris quickly changed positions to provide cover for her daughter's safe retreat, but she was unaware that Mark's gun was already aimed at Anja. Both Anja and Kris's positions had been exposed. At this moment, the entire wilderness was eerily silent. Only the continuous noisy chirping of insects echoed, disrupting Kris's ability to make judgments by sound. Despite her utmost caution, she was ultimately caught by Mark. But the opponent still did not immediately kill her. He only ordered Kris to remove all weapons from her person. Then, he actively began to converse with her. Mark frankly stated that he had come this time to reclaim what rightfully belonged to him. One by one, I will kill every one of your remaining teammates. After killing you, I will take the girl back to where she belongs. After speaking, Mark took out a piece of red cloth, signaling Kris to obey the rules of the game. Next, he then took out a bullet and left a puzzling cryptic hint. 2 is 1. 1 is none. Seeing Mark stand up and leave, Kris immediately grabbed the gun on the ground, preparing to ambush him while he was off guard. But by the time she pulled the safety catch, Mark had vanished without a trace. On the other side, his teammates' continuous deaths made Zorro completely lose all will to fight, and he also conceived the idea of escaping alone. Seeing this, Mick quickly spoke up to stop him, saying that acting alone now was too dangerous. But Zorro was so afraid, he lost all reason. Completely deaf to any advice, he directly grabbed his gun and rushed outside, then ran straight into the himself again soon. So, he immediately gave up aiming and crawled along the ground towards Kris. Seeing Zorro's condition worsen, they quickly helped him up and struggled toward the farmhouse. But as they advanced, Nico suddenly spotted a reflective glint nearby. He quickly signaled Kris to lay Zorro down. Then he lay flat, carefully observing the strange light. Everyone thought this shot killed Mark, but the next second, Nico was shot in the head. Kris was stunned, unable to believe it. It was all a trap set by Mark. He used glass to reflect light, mimicking a scope glint to lure Nico out. Then he shot him dead. At the same time, Mick, guarding the house, heard a strange sound. He grabbed his gun to check, but it was Anja. Yeah, she had entered through a secret passage, then huddled in a corner trembling. The recent events had clearly terrified her. Mick softly hummed a folk song to comfort her. With him by her side, Anya's tense mood gradually calmed. Ago in Iraq, their team was on a mission when 2 terrorists strapped with explosives sped toward them on motorcycles. Everyone opened fire to stop them, but the bikes moved too fast to hit. Kris calmly switched to armor-piercing rounds and took down both with one shot, saving the entire team. Kris also felt guilty about missing Anya's upbringing. Only now did Anja truly understand her mother's burden. Soon after, Kris helped Zorro back. He'd lost too much blood and could fall into a coma, but there was no transfusion equipment, and no one knew their blood types. They couldn't save him, only giving Zorro some painkillers. Feeling his life fading, Zorro struggled to his father. Blake rested his head on his shoulder and died. Now only Kris, Anja, and Mick remained. The house was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Mick comforted them, saying they were safe, but Anja said suddenly realized something. He said, "You are safe, I know why." She walked straight out the front door. A flurry of gunshots immediately rang out, but all the bullets missed. Not one hit Anja. Mick couldn't understand. Mark was a top sniper, always accurate. How could he make such a mistake? He looked at Kris suspiciously, then learned a shocking truth. Anja was unharmed because she was Mark's daughter. The story goes back 16 years. Elite sniper teams from many countries gathered at Mount Sand for a transnational mission. Unexpectedly, the whole team fell into an aimlessly survived. She thought Mark died in the fire, But evil often survives. He not only survived, but also gathered remaining remnants to rebuild his rebel army. Kris escaped death, but then discovered she was pregnant. And what Mark claimed as his own was now completely clear. Anja was the biological daughter of Mark and Kris. After telling everything, Kris stood to find Anja. Mick stayed in the house for her signal, but Mark had been ambushing for a long time. As Kris's car appeared, he immediately fired, forcing her to stop. Anja, startled by the gunshot, ran frantically for Tated. That brief hesitation allowed an arrow to pierce his calf, severely limiting his movement. Kris immediately fired a distracting shot, but it went off target, causing Mark no injury. Anja peeked out to see, unaware Mark was below the stairs, his gun aimed at her. But Anja was his daughter, so Mark couldn't bring himself to harm her. You have no idea who you truly are. Only one person gets to live. You choose. Faced with Mark's ultimatum, Anja gave no answer. She turned and went in, so if Kris wanted a sniper duel, her chance of winning was almost 0. 2 is 1, 1 is none. Kris gave Anja the scope, telling her to be her spotter, preparing for the final duel. Anja seemed to mature instantly. She calmly observed the position, then reported precisely. Mark was on the mountainside, 905 meters away, with wind around force 4 to 5. Hearing this, Kris adjusted her angle, then pulled the trigger, but the shot was still off by a few degrees. Recognizing Kris had fired, Mark quickly recalibrated his scope, then confidently pulled the trigger. Unexpectedly. But at this moment, an unexpected event occurred. Strong winds suddenly rose, followed by pouring rain. Anja urgently yelled for her mother to dodge, but Kris knew very well that if she didn't seize this chance to eliminate Mark, her daughter would forever be unable to escape his menace. She couldn't help but raise her binoculars to observe. Unexpectedly, she was surprised to find Mark shot and fallen to the ground. It turned out Kris's second shot had hit him. The rain grew heavier. Mick, having just escaped death, couldn't help but burst into laughter. But there was no joy on Kris's face. Even though she had protected her daughter, Mark and the others had to pay with their very lives. The red cloth was thrown into the mud puddle. The 16-year-long feud finally came to an end. But for the rest of her life, Kris would always carry the regret for her teammates' sacrifices, even though they ultimately achieved victory. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. There are still many exciting films awaiting everyone. We'll see you in the next video.